Good day, students. Good day, students. My name is Tarun Kumawat and I welcome you all. I welcome all the students and viewers who are watching this session. This is going to be an eye-opener session as we have named it, and it is precisely designed for class 10th CBSE board students. As you all know, students, that your exams are going to start from 26th of April, and if we have a look, then from now we have almost a month. Those who have already attended phase 1 of Alloy workshop must be knowing that from 28th of March we are going to start Alloy phase 2, which is a power-packed quick revision for your 10th board exams. You are going to receive precisely designed and based on the latest pattern, you are going to receive some live tests, particularly for science, mathematics and social science. So stay tuned for your preparation, and today for this guidance, because this is going to be your 11th hour guidance. So for that we have our subject matter experts with us. For social science we have Mr. Vaibhav Sharma.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Welcome, sir. For mathematics we have Akansha Rathore ma'am. Welcome to the session, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
And for science we have Mr. Binu Alex. Welcome, sir. So we are going to talk about all these different subjects, the strategies, how to present your answer, and what are the tricks and tips to score good marks in your board exams. So first of all, we will begin with social science. So Vaibhav sir is our subject matter expert on social science. And Vaibhav sir, my first question from you is, because your subject is a subjective, it demands students to present answers in a manner that students need to write it in a precise manner so that they can secure good marks. So what do you suggest that what our students should do?
Hello dear students. First of all, I just want to welcome you all in this session. For the delivery of the answer and for the presentation of answer, I would suggest every student to mark and plan a precise manner to answer every question. And that particular answering of question should be in different form. For example, we should not be having word limits to be exceeded. The answer should be written in points. We are having some points. For that particular thing, we should focus on those points and will be having our answer to be very presentable and accountable. To make our answer to be presentable and accountable, we are going to discuss some points, and those points are as follows.
Sir, it is generally asked that students sometimes ask that whenever we write an answer, shall we always write it in paragraph forms or in points? Because there is always a confusion. If I recall my school days, I've always been confused about all these theories. Some of the students or some of my classmates always suggested that if you're writing an answer in social science, then you should write in paragraph forms. If it is a short answer, there must be 1 or 2 paragraphs. If it is a long answer, if it requires you to write 150 to 200 words, then you need to write in 3 to 4 paragraphs. So what is the actual way, what is the precise way to write answer in social science?
So sir, for that particular course, we can think from the point of view of the examiner. Let's think if we are having a question answer which is of 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, because our thoughts and our knowledge is not having any limits. Every answer for social science specifically, because the subject is based on theory and theory aspects, so every answer we should be having written in points. If we are writing answers in paragraph, the examiner will not be that interested in reading that particular thing. So he will not be interested and will not be having good marks achieved. So every answer should be written in points, and every point should be equal to that of the marking of the questions. For example, if we are having a question of 2 marks, in that we'll be writing minimum 2 points. We can write more than 2 as maximum 3. We will not be writing more than 3. Otherwise, we will be writing a lot different things, and the examiner will not be that interested in writing those, in giving marks to those points, which are extra.
So sir, as you suggested that answer should be written in points, so is it also necessary that students should keep in mind that whenever they are writing a point, they should give preference to some points and some points should be written later?
Yeah, sure sir. If we are writing answer in a point, for example, we can take example. If we are having a question as what are the advantages of railways, or what are the advantages of roadways, we will have to write the very most important point at the beginning. For example, there is one advantage of roadway, that is that roadways always behaves like a feeder to other means of transport. We cannot use flights, we cannot use railways without roadways, because we'll have to reach the airport, we'll have to reach the railway station. So that particular point, that roadways are acting as a feeder, that is the most important point of that particular answer. So it should be written on the first and the second point. So most important point should be written as first and second, and in the later part of the answer we can write those points which are not that important.
Okay. And sir, suppose if there are answers, short answers and long answers, so do students have to keep the word limit in mind?
This is actually not about the answers only, sir. We should be having a limit set in every sphere of our life. We cannot go beyond the limit, and this is the same thing applicable in answer writing as well. We should be taking that word limit strictly to be followed. We should not be writing anything out of the word limit. Otherwise, everything we are discussing is from the point of view of the examiner. If examiner will be receiving an answer which will be out of the limit, so he will not be that interested. We will be writing answer in points and the complete answer, and all the answers should be within the boundary of the limits. We should not be having anything inside the limit, we should not be having anything outside the limit.
Great. And sir, as it is suggested that there are different sections, so what is the way to manage time throughout the sections?
Sir, this we will be discussing in the later part of the presentation. See, in social science we are having 5 sections. We will be talking about the first 4 because the last section we are having of map. Map will not be taking too much time to write or to be marked. We will be taking first 4 sections, those are A, B, C, D. And in social science, what we are taking, that somehow all these sections are accompanied same number of markings. Right. So what we can do, for example, we are having 2 hours, so we can divide 2 hours according to those 4 sections. For example, we can take 20 minutes for section A, 20 minutes for B, 20 minutes for C, 20 minutes for D. Still we are having time left. For that, as we are having time left, that left time we can use to just reread the paper, so as to have a confirmation that we are not having anything left. So we can manage time accordingly, and that particular thing you will be having by doing real time practices.
Great. So
by different mediums. So the student should keep on practicing those sample papers by maintaining a live decorum which he or she would be having while they're in the examination hall. And this is very most important. This is very most important in every sphere. Practice is very most important in every sphere. We can take example. For example, see, our army, Indian army, we are not having any war, we are not having any condition of the war, but Indian army used to practice the war practices daily, so as to make ourselves and everybody comfortable. When we will be having war, we will not be having any problem for that. So everything became sorted out, but we'll have to practice things daily by maintaining that life decorum.
exactly. So students, you heard him clearly that practice is something that if remains consistent, it makes you perform. Practice makes you perform, and perfect practice makes you perfect. So keep practicing. Weber sir, one more thing I would like to ask. What is the distribution? I mean, if there are different sections, how students are going to face questions, and what is the marking scheme for all these sections?
Yes, so here on the slide we are having the complete and the exact division of the paper. Our social science paper will be divided into 5 sections. Section A, B, C, D, E. Section A would be having 5 marks. Section A would be having 5 questions. Each question would be of 2 marks. And what we have already discussed about the word limit for the questions of 2 marks we are having as 40 words. In section B, we are having 3 questions, questions 6, 7 and 8. Those 3 questions we would be having of 3 marks each. And for that particular questions, we are having word limits as 80 words. For section C, we are having question as 9 and 10. Those questions would be of 5 marks each. And for those particular questions, we are having word limit as 120 words. For section D, we are having question as 11 and 12. Those questions are based on case study. Those questions are based on case study, and those questions which are 11 and 12 would be having subdivision. Those questions are 4 mark each, and we are not having any word limit preside for that particular thing. As we have just discussed that section D, the question in section D, those are 11 and 12 number question. What they would be having subdivision of the question. Here we would be having in 11 question and in 12 question we would be having 3 questions inside of it. First question and second question would be of 1 mark each, and the third question would be of 2 mark each. So we have the marking as defined. So what we can do, we can set the word limits according to ourselves. We have just discussed that in section A we are having question of 2 marks. So for that particular thing we are having word limit defined. So we can make the things according to ourselves, that if we are having question of 1 mark and 2 mark, we can define the word limits according to ourselves. We should not be having any answer more than the word limits, more than the 40 words.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So students, it was the distribution of different sections, but Vaibhav sir, there is one question for the map as well. So what would you like to say about that? How to label map? Because I have heard that students they happen to make some mistakes while they are labeling maps. So some guidance regarding that, please.
Yeah, that is the only thing which we have just discussed, that in section E we would be having map question. Map question would be 2. First question in map would be based upon history approach, and the second question would be based on geography. The first question would be of 1 mark and the second question would be of 2 mark. So here we are having a map on the slide. Whatever we are having defined is completely wrong, because whatever we are discussing is based on the live approach which we have just received from the student, and generally the student are making these types of mistakes. For example, we can have a look at the Chennai. See how the Chennai is being marked. Chennai, the student is marking Chennai beneath the boundary of the India. If we are having the map question, whatever we will be marking in map, we will be marking outside the boundary of the map. If we will be having things written inside the boundary of the map, that is not exactly presentable, and the examiner may feel confusion about that particular thing. So whatever we are marking, we are making an arrow to that particular location, and we will be writing as outside the boundary. We are taking example of Chennai. What is happening that the student may get confused in that particular thing. We everybody know that Chennai is there in Tamil Nadu. If we will be marking Chennai as the center of the Tamil Nadu, we will be having the complete thing or the answer to be wrong. Why? Because we know that Chennai is a particular city which is on the bank of the Bay of Bengal. So we are having Chennai, we are having Visakhapatnam, we are having Goa. So if we will be having map like those which are actually on the boundary of the peninsula, we will be marking those exactly at the boundary. We cannot mark that particular thing in between the boundary of that particular state. For example, in Chennai, we cannot mark it in between the boundary of Tamil Nadu. So these types of mistakes generally the students are doing. So what we are discussing, what we'll have to do, that we will be writing or we will be marking the map outside the boundary of the country and the exact location to be preferred. Second, we are having an example as Chauri Chaura. See the location of the Chauri Chaura. Chauri Chaura is a particular city which is not exactly in Bihar. But the students are actually being confused because of that. We are having Champaran in Bihar, we are not having Chauri Chaura in Bihar. This is the map which we have received from a lot of different students. They are being confused with the locations of different states. So if we would be having things like Chauri Chaura, we will be having a patience, we will be thinking twice before marking the map. So we will be marking that particular thing in UP, and Champaran is there in Bihar. So what I am trying to say, that before marking map, everybody is taking map is very easy, but that is actually not a very easy task. We will have to keep patience, think twice before marking the map, and after thinking twice, after being received a particular point, will be marking that particular map, but it should be strictly outside the boundary of the country.
Okay, thank you so much, Vaibhav sir, for your valuable insights about the subject. So students, This was about social science. I hope you had your doubts clear. We are displaying you the content related to every subject and to every question. If you feel at any point that you must keep this information with you, you can always take the screenshot of these slides, because they are going to be very helpful throughout your exam preparation for class 10 CBSE board. And you can always share this information with your friends, with your other family members, your cousins who are going to write class 10th exams this year. Allen Overseas is always there to help you. This was all about social science, and now for mathematics we have Ma'am Akansha Rathore with us, who is our faculty mathematics at Allen Overseas. So ma'am, as we all know that mathematics is always seems to be the most difficult subject. If I recall my days, it used to give me a lot of tension during my school days, during my exam days, because this is the subject that even if you practice so hard, some of the questions will always be there which will confuse you. So your guidance for these students is the order of the hour. So your valuable insights for mathematics.
Yes, of course, I get this feedback from a lot of parents and students that maths is like something which the student is not able to cope up with, and in fact most of the time they struggle with it. But trust me, class 10th boards, every student can score good marks in mathematics. Basically mathematics is an analytical subject which needs a lot of practice and regularity. So I believe any student who's just following good habits and good strategies, surely they can ace their math exam. And of course we'll discuss a lot of things over here which will surely help you in your 10th board, and trust me, if you'll follow these things, you will be getting good marks. So I'll begin with firstly we'll be discussing the syllabus and also with the examination pattern.
Yes, what is the syllabus for mathematics for term 2 examinations, and how the marks are divided? If you can please guide us regarding that.
See students, it's really important that you know the maths syllabus, because it's not only that you're writing your paper and that's all. We have to make a strategy for writing the paper and doing your revisions also. So in maths syllabus there are 5 units. This is given from CBSE. You will be able to find it on website. Over here, the first unit is for algebra, where there are 2 chapters, quadratic equations and arithmetic progressions. The combined weightage of these 2 chapters would be 10 marks. Now students, we cannot individually give marks to these 2 chapters. The weightage of individual chapters could differ. It depends on examiner that whether they want to give more questions on arithmetic progressions or quadratic. Similarly, the second unit is for geometry, and over there we have circles chapter and constructions, and it carries 9 marks as weightage. And third unit is trigonometry, where we have chapters, some applications of trigonometry, and this is for 7 marks. Mensuration is our 4th unit, where we have surface area and volume chapter, and it carries 6 marks weightage. And at the end, 5th unit is statistics and probability, in which you have only the chapter statistics, that's it, right? And it carries 8 marks as the weightage. Now students, how it will help you? Basically, you can take your revision sessions according to the given weightage. If you'll observe, then the last 3 units from trigonometry to statistics, they are carrying like total 21 marks. So you can see that if you'll prepare these 3 chapters, if you'll start with the revision of these 3 chapters, you'll be able to score 21 marks altogether. And the rest 4 chapters, you can also, keep a good sequencing over there, because arithmetic progression among all these 4 chapters, like a good chapter whose weightage could be more. And then you can go with construction. There would be surely one question of construction. So in this manner, you can actually plan your revisions. Okay, and then you can see that after these 40 marks, 10 marks are for internals, which will be sent by school. So total, you will be scoring, altogether.
Okay.
Marks.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for telling us the syllabus and the marking scheme. Ma'am, there is just Vaibhav sir described that there are different sections, and in these different sections, what kind of questions you are going to get. So can we expect the same from mathematics? I mean, students are going to have different sections?
Yes, of course. We'll be discussing about the examination pattern also. So, in exam pattern, students, you will be finding 3 sections. It's a 2-hour paper. So, in that you will be getting 3 sections. Section A will contain 6 questions of 2 mark each. And remember, students, you will be getting choice in any 2 questions. Then section B, there would be 4 questions of 3 marks each, and there would be internal choice in 1 question. And section C would be, there would be 4 questions again of 4 marks each. But here, students, the last 2 questions, question number 13 and 14, they will be again case study based questions. Okay, so in those questions, you will get 2 subparts. So each case study will have 2 subparts further. So that would be your complete examination pattern. In here also, just pay attention that the last section, section C, 4 marks and 4 questions, so total 16 marks. So again, it tells us that where we have to pay more attention when we are writing the test. Okay, so please be careful and observe these 2 slides which we discussed, okay, and accordingly decide your strategy.
Okay, so ma'am, this was about exam pattern, but we have already promised our students that in this session, you are going to receive some examination tips, some important tips, which will definitely help you fetch more marks. So it is about mathematics, and mathematics, we really require so many tips. So if I talk about examination tips, in your subject, there are so many formulae, there are so many methods and theories. How can students deal with that? What to do?
Yeah, surely we'll discuss few tips, because even a day before the exam, I get a lot of messages that, ma'am, how to write the test paper, and what I should keep in mind, do's and don'ts all together. So the very first thing is that before your exam and on the same day when you're writing the exam, there would be few different strategies. So before your exam, as 1 month is left, ensure that you do a good revision of all the chapters. Okay, memorize the formulas, methods, and the methods carefully. Okay, so that you need not to think twice when you're writing your paper. They must be on your tips altogether. And then I would suggest that solve some previous year's question papers while in this duration of this 1 month. It will actually give you exposure to different kind of questions, because you all know maths is like every time there is a new question which surprises us, right? So for that purpose, I would say that solve previous year's question papers and always encircle or highlight your mistakes in that. The reason behind it is, whatever we are practicing, a day before your exam, you should only practice the highlighted questions which either went wrong while practicing or which are important somehow. Okay, so in this 1 month duration, ensure that you practice a lot of previous year's papers. After that, when we talk about writing the test paper, now students, is a very, very crucial thing, because there would be like 15 minutes would be given to you all for reading the test paper. So ensure that you utilize those 15 minutes very effectively. Reason behind it is that in mathematics, some times it happens that we know few questions very well, but few questions are very doubtful. To deal with such questions, I prefer telling my students that tick mark on the questions. When you are scanning the paper for those first 15 reading minutes, scan the paper carefully, put tick marks on the questions which you know very well, and then put circles on those questions which are doubtful to you. And then start from section D towards A. Why I'm section C towards A? Why I'm telling section C? The reason that it carries the most of the weightage. Okay, so that means you will be completing the 4 mark questions firstly. It will boost your confidence. Also, you will feel that yes, I have attempted the maximum score part in the test paper, and then gradually you can come to the 3 mark question, then 2 mark question, right? So this is the way how you should basically deal with the first 15 minutes. Now, when we come to the writing part, students, write neatly. Your paper should be very neat and clean. You must be handy with your geometry box, because at the end moment you should not borrow things from other students. So I would prefer that you should be keep all the essential things in the geometry box, pencils, eraser and compass, things for the construction. Okay, And whenever you're writing your answers, you should always write steps. For example, if there is a theorem, so in the theorem you must write given to prove the figure for the particular theorem, if construction, if there is any, and then you should write the proof. So these are the steps. And for every 3 and 4 mark question, students, you should always write the answer statements, whether it is a word problem or any other particular question. Okay, so writing an answer statement is also very important. After that, let's talk about calculation part, because I believe that most of the students feel that they do wrong calculations, or sometimes they copy down some wrong values for the question. So for that, students, whenever you're reading the question, always match twice that whether you have written the right values or not. And for calculation column, for all those chapters where, for example, surface area and volume, we have a lot of calculations. For those, always make a column on the right hand side or on the bottom of the page of your answer sheet. And this shape, space must be sufficient enough so that you are writing your calculations neatly and you are revisiting them, okay, once you finish the paper. And my last point would be that don't forget to put the units, okay. For surface area and volume, write when you are calculating volume, write the respective units, and don't forget to write all the reasoning for 3 and 4 mark question. If you are using any theorem, write the name of the theorem, that by this theorem, by the formula. For example, if you are writing median, so write the formula of median firstly and then put the values.
Okay, so ma'am, these were the examination tips
Yeah.
from your side, but sometimes it happens that since it is mathematics and some of the questions require lengthy calculations, and students happen to spend much more time on one single question, and that disturbs the time management for rest of the paper. So how to manage time, especially in mathematics?
Yeah, it takes like a lot of students feel that they knew all the answers, but they were not able to manage the time. So for that purpose, I have given some bifurcation, that how much time you can spend on one particular section. So over here, as you all can see, there would be 3 sections. So in section A, there would be only 2 mark questions, students. So in 2 mark questions, we need not to write too much. Even if you are not writing the formulas and simply writing the working of the question in 3 to 4 lines, that would be sufficient, right? But in 3 and 4 mark questions, yes, you have to always write the formulas, the reasoning, and the answer statements. And for completing those, section A, hardly it will take 30 minutes for you to complete. These timings are approximately, I'm telling you. Some students may finish section A in only 10 minutes. So that is up to you. But here I have given the approximate timings. So section A you can finish in 30 minutes. Then section B you can finish in 35 minutes altogether. And section C, 45 minutes. And for the revision purpose, you can keep 10 minutes at the end and revisit your calculation that time duration. And all those students who struggles that they are not able to manage the time, and in fact they say that oh, I wasn't able to complete my paper, 2 4 mark questions were left, and I was not able to write them properly. So for that situation, I would suggest always start your paper from section C towards A, because even if a 2 mark question is left, we can write in hurry the 2-3 lines about that question and it will work. Okay, so basically always start writing for 4 mark questions firstly, so that you write them neatly, you have enough time to think over them. Okay, and 2 or 3 more important things are, one is that don't leave any question unattempted. I've seen few students that they strike off their own answers at the end moment. And please let the teacher decide, let the examiner decide whether it is correct or not. Please don't strike off your answers. Even if, let's say, you think that it's wrong and maybe you want to rewrite the answer, always strike them off with pencil, so that you later on you have an option to erase it basically. Okay, so these are the things which you should keep in mind.
So ma'am, this was about the examination names that students need to take care of. But is there also some precise or proper way to present your answers or to write answers in mathematics? Because I've heard many times that students get answers for steps rather than directly giving correct answer. So how would you guide our students about that?
Yes, of course, I have few slides where students have written the answers in correct manner. So let's discuss few answers. For example, over here, see students, there would be height and distances chapter. Most of the students, they do some common errors. They just go with the solution part. They define the triangles, but they don't mention the how this figure is formed, that what all values are depicted. For example, over here AB is the height of the tower. So over here everything is mentioned within the figure, that AB is the height of the tower, BC is the height of the building, point P is on the ground. So you have to also tell all these things, and then you must start with the working part. Okay. Similarly, you can see over here that the student has made the calculation column on the right hand side. It's up to you. You can make the calculation column on the right hand side of the same page or at the bottom part. Yeah, but please don't do the calculations at the last page of your answer sheet, because when you are flipping the pages and copying down the values, it might be a situation can be there where you are copying wrong values. So I don't advise students that to do all the calculations at the last page. A big no. Over here, this third example is for statistics chapter students. A neatly drawn table you can see where the median class is shown by putting a box over there, and then there is a formula for this median calculation, and then substitution is done, right? So this is the correct way. You must show all these things, that formula is written, proper reasoning is given. Okay. And yes, this is just to show you that if there is a 2-mark question, then how much you are supposed to write. You can see over here, it's a question which is where you have to find the length of the diagonal. So simply the formula is used, and 3 lines this working is done. Okay. And here we have an example of construction, neatly done. And yes, in 3 and 4-mark questions, students, never forget to write the steps of construction. By default, you have to write them, whether it is written or not. Okay. So these were all the things from my side. Over to you, Turan sir.
Thank you so much, Akansha ma'am. Thank you so much for such valuable insights for your subject. And students, I hope your doubts are clear regarding mathematics. Even if you have any doubt, you can always reach out to us. Our helpline number is available on our website, that is allenoverseas.com. You can always write to us. We have the live chat option also. You can always drop us a message or your query. Our representatives will definitely reach out to you the same day. And this was all about mathematics. Now for science, we have Mr. Binu Alex with us, who is faculty chemistry at Allen Overseas. Binu sir, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Binu sir, as science, you are going to guide our students about physics, chemistry and biology, because at Allen Overseas, we give students precise study for all these 3 subjects, and with the help of different teachers for physics, chemistry and biology. But in exam, they are going to write 1 common paper for science. So what do you suggest, how the general instructions are going to be, what is the time allowed, and how students should follow the time limit?
Thank you, sir. Like as sir described about the whole variety of science subjects like physics, chemistry, biology all together. Along with that, like I would just first let you know the general instructions as per the CBSE. What are the instructions which are given? As you could see on the screen, the general instructions. The first instruction is like all questions should be compulsory. Second, like it will be consisting of 15 all around questions with 3 specific sections, section A, section B and section C. Section A with 7 questions carrying 2 marks each, section B having 6 questions carrying 3 marks each, and section C which includes the case based, as according to you must be knowing, like we got the notice also for the same competence based questions. So this year onwards, like we'll be having the case based questions. So section C will be having the whole set of case based questions, which includes the parts and even the optional base. Along with that, like we'll be knowing about the internal choice questions as given in the sample papers during the alloy. And like when we talk about internal choices, like it is not compulsory to do all the questions altogether. Like I have been going through these kind of papers in which students try to attempt all the all the questions, like they are not actually caring about that particular choice which is being given to them. So like I would say, like attempting both the questions rather than going with the choice is actually wastage of your time. Like if you want to save your time, I would say not to attempt both the questions, attempt the one which is given as a choice and which you are completely sure about, you are completely confident about that particular question. So next, if I talk about attempting the paper itself, there itself, like check with the question whether the choice is given or not. Like as I said, like section C is a section where you will get all the choices all together. You can select the choice there itself, right? So this was all about the general instruction which would be given for science in the 2 hours of paper carrying 40 marks each, and along with that you will be having internal assessment marks which is already conducted by the schools. Then we have the unit wise weightage system. Unit wise weightage system, the particular term unit is being given over here rather than bifurcating it for physics, chemistry and bio altogether. If you could see, unit 1, second and unit 4 and unit 5 will be there for your examination as per the term 2 rationalized syllabus. Unit 1, which includes the chemical substances, nature and behavior, chapter 4 and 5 carrying 10 marks each. World of living, chapter 8 and 9 carrying 13 marks each. Effects of chapter 1, 12 and 13 carrying 12 marks each, and natural resources carrying 5 marks each. So this is about the unit wise bifurcation of each marks distribution for the chapter. Now like you will be like why a particular weightage is required in case of units. The reason behind it is, I know you must have been preparing yourself, or as sir said, like we are on the practice ground right now. So the more priority could be given to the more weightage. So that's why a weightage section is always given to you, so that you would be always going with the priority. Okay, which chapter is carrying more weightage, so I would be giving more priority to that chapter, and further I can go with other chapters. Now along with that, if I talk about the chapter wise distribution, marks distribution, this as you could see on the screen, this chapter wise distribution is actually made on the basis of sample papers which are released by CBSE this year for term 2. So as you could see on the screen, the chapters are given on the basis of physics, chemistry, bio, all 3 subjects. This first chapter from physics, electricity, carrying 3 marks. We had 2 questions carrying 3 marks, total of 6 marks. Then we have another chapter from physics, magnetic effects of current, carrying 2 marks. Then we have one of the chapter from biology, how do organisms reproduce, and which is also carrying 2 marks. Then we have heredity, again from biology, carrying 2 marks. Then along with that we have 3 marks question, one of that, and 4 marks question for heredity. Then we have chemistry, periodic classification of elements, carrying 2 marks and then 3 marks questions. Carbon and its compound, carrying 3 marks, and then our environment for carrying 2 marks and 3 marks. Overall you could see that it is giving a overall weightage of 40 marks. Now like it is not compulsory, or it is not completely given in the CBSE that you will be having the same weightage or the same chapter wise marks distribution will be there. So this is actually an analysis which is taken from the CBSE sample papers. Now the major questions, like if I would talk about the students or the queries which are coming these days from my classroom students, I would say, like, sir, how to represent a diagram, or I made a diagram completely but my teacher was not able to give the full marks. Like I was losing my marks in the diagram itself. So as we discussed in SST regarding this map, labeling is one of the part where you can score marks. Like for example, if a question is given on the human heart, if you know how a human heart is being drawn, like it is being practiced in the classroom itself, but the question is, are you able to correctly represent that particular part of the human heart, like labeling? And even if you are labeling, I would always suggest label it in a block letter. So block letter is like you must have seen, like even if you are filling your forms for JEE or any other competitive exam, they just clearly mention, write it in block letters, right? Block letter means like you are not missing out any word. Like that's why we prefer block letter. So I would always suggest my students, whenever you are forming up a diagram or just drawing a diagram, always present the labeling in block letters.
Great.
In case of like preparation, as you were talking about preparation, and our whole session is about preparation. Now we have discussed about students who have prepared, or some students are still in the phase that they are preparing themselves. Now I would like to talk about the students like who are actually still not prepared, right? So if I talk about the students who are still not prepared, or they are just worried, okay, how will I be appearing for this particular exam?
Right, still they have a month left from now.
Yes.
So still, if all the students can get the precise guidance, I think they can make it to the end.
Yeah, surely. I would always say, like in the classroom itself, I always keep this particular concentration on these particular types of students who are still afraid to attempt a particular question. Like, okay, sir, if a question is coming from this chapter, so I won't be able to attempt. So actually, they are losing their confidence in that. So in this phase, like in this particular area, I would say that prepare your shorthand formations, like prepare your notes. Like if I talk about the revisions, like what you could do, you can start preparing your notes. Now, if you could see on the screen, whenever you are learning a topic, what you could do, like for example, you're talking about a topic, what you can do, start underlining the sentences or highlight the sentences whichever is more important. As we were discussing in social science, whenever a question is answer is being represented in the point wise, you said that it should be presented in the important point should be written from the first,
Yeah.
right? The same time, like how would we be knowing about the important points? Underline that, highlight those particular type of questions in the shorthand itself, which will be helping you in the revision session before the examination. Now, if I talk about NCRT, NCRT is plays a very major role in the case of board examination. When we teach students, like we always keep a base on NCRT, as well as we start teaching them for the competitive level. But during the board examination, I would always say that NCRT is a phase where you can actually go through all these kind of questions, right? So if I talk about any particular topic, if a particular definition is there, like in case of biology, if I say, if a particular definition is there, yes, like students have been asking this, like what if, sir, I just write my own definition, like my own words? Actually, you can use your own words. The question is, are you using the specific terminology as mentioned in the biology chapter or that particular topic? Are you giving a priority to that particular terminology? So if you are using those terminology, it would be always easy for me to understand, or the teacher would be able to understand it. Now, the question is, when we talk about the NCRT part, now the exercises are there, questions are there, how you are dealing with the questions, like what type of questions are there and the priority of questions. For example, let's suppose I am just preparing myself for a type of question and I have encircled it as one of the important question or one of the question which I was not able to attempt during my preparation or during my revision session. So what I could do, I would always revisit those particular encircled questions and I will go through that before the examination. So these were some points like how to prepare yourself now itself, like preparing yourself with the shorthand representation or the notebooks you can use.
Sir, this was all about
Student,
the
yes.
students. So, is there any way of paper presentation? What are the points that students should keep in mind while presenting their answers in their notebooks? So,
Yes, paper presentation is the I would say like even if you are missing out some topics, I would say paper presentation would always let you get some good marks. Now, when a paper presentation is mentioned, always use a type of language which is completely easy, right? Use easy languages. Okay. Next, counting the word count, like as we discussed, we have specific word counts given in the paper itself. Now the question is like, let's suppose the word count is given as 150 words. Now as a student, what I would do, like I will count each and every word to that particular answer, but I would say not to count, like as we said, like there's a part of time management also. I can't completely like count down the words. What I would do, I would always count the lines. I would always count the lines. On the basis of that, what I could say, like, okay, now 100 words are there. I have an idea that a particular line will be having 8, maximum of 8 words, and I will count those lines and I would suggest that, okay, this would be the best time management technique to represent it. Highlighting the main words, as you could see, then write your answer in points. Write your answer in points is actually, it will give a glimpse of that particular answer. Like for example, if a question is being asked and now you'll be like, sir, it's a 3 marks question, I was not able to attempt completely, or I was not able to completely describe that particular answer. So I would say write it in points. If you are writing it in points with the important points, the teacher could easily examine it and she could give you the marks, complete marks. Next, as marks allocated for the step marking, as you must have heard. Step marking is a technique which you would say that whenever a step is mentioned, in the case of maths or in the case of physics also, if I say when a derivation is there, so each step consists of a mark. Like in the marks marking scheme system in the CBSE also it is mentioned, like each step carries a mark. So this is how like step marking would be playing a role. Next is, when you copy down the answer, like if you could see, follow the same number format. Like for example, if a question, second question is having a bipart, a part, like second part, third part, what you could do, you have to copy the same format. If it is given in Roman numbers, you have to copy it in Roman numbers. If it is given in alphanumeric, you have to copy down it in alphanumeric. So these are few of the steps. After that, if I talk about the clean or the neat paper, after every answer, you need to leave 2 lines. So 2 lines, like you know, like there's no scarcity of that particular paper. So what you could do, you could always leave 2 lines after each paper, so which would give a neatness to your paper. Next is following the word limit, this as we discussed in social science also. Next, about whenever you find that particular terminology or particular word written by me is not correct, rather than scribbling it or rather than just scribbling or just cutting it out, what you could do, you just simply put a line on that. You could completely, as ma'am said, like you could just mark it with a pencil, like it would be the best technique. Next is about proper diagram labeling, as we discussed. Then make column for rough work, as ma'am said, like if you are using the column to the right side, like it will be actually shrinking out your answer sheet itself. So rather than that, what you could do, the rough work could be done to the bottom, rather than doing on the last page, not to the right, on the bottom. So that would be the best technique. Next is about, if I talk about diagram making, whichever question you find that okay, this includes a diagram in the topic, or let's suppose if it is a 3-mark question or a 5-mark question, if you could find that okay, this includes a diagram, what you could do, you have to mention the diagram there itself. So these are some scoring techniques, I could say. These are some scoring techniques on by which you can actually score marks.
Can we also have a look of some sample papers or sample answers?
Yes, actually I got some sample paper for students, like these are some sample papers which I got from CBSE website itself. So this is a sample paper of a topper, and if you could see how neat this paper is, right? If you could see, it is clearly mentioned about the subject science, then the section, whether it is A, section B, whatever section it is. After that, it is mentioned about the question, like what question it is. Like question number 1, if it is question number 1, it is completely or clearly mentioned beyond the margin. After that, it is mentioned leaving 2 lines to maintain the neat and tidy paper, and then following the same step marking. Now, the thing comes with the teacher, like when a teacher is correcting the paper, you must have seen that she is able to correctly check your line. If a particular line is correct, she is able to take it mark, and let's suppose if you are just crowding it all with your words, you won't be able to, the teacher won't be able to correct it. So these are some of the problems which we face, and we are being guiding the students during the classroom also, like when we have paper presentation classes also, we always guide them all these things. Now, talking about the next, planning of your answers, as we discussed, prioritizing your attempt, like which is the answer, what terminology should be used for this particular answer. Attempt the questions easily, like whichever questions you will find that okay sir, like this particular question is much easier for me, so what I will do, I will try to attempt those questions first, then next, and then so on. Now the question comes, like how will you get that planning time, like how to decide whether this particular question is easy. As we discussed in mathematics also, the time limit which is given to us, the 15 minutes of time which is given to us, will be acting as a revision time. Like we can actually go through these paper, or go through the whole question paper, and then manage the easy ones, tough ones, and the medium level. So this would be acting as a very best part of managing it. Support your answers, like the same scoring technology, like scoring methodology, if I say, support your answers with diagrams, if any. Use step-by-step presentation of answers. Use specific terminology, stick to word limit, recheck your answer, support your answers with examples and formulae, and marks will be always there for the presentation.
So students, you heard Binu Alex sir, and he told you about science. So thank you so much for your valuable insight, sir.
Thank you,
I
sir.
hope most of your doubts have been cleared regarding your upcoming exams. And just to give you another reminder, Alloy Phase 2 workshop is going to start from 28th of March, which is a power-packed quick revision for your 10th CBSE board examinations. Do not forget to attend it regularly. Those who are watching us and have some doubt what Alloy Phase 2 program is, as I told you, you can always reach out to your country representative. Our website is allenoverseas.com. You can always contact your country representative regarding any information for the upcoming academic session. And with this, I, Tarun Kumawat, say goodbye to all of you, and we all wish you good luck for your board examinations. Thank you.